All right, thank you for tuning in to another episode of NBA Live Stream of Consciousness, rocking with you here on a Monday after a hell of a playoff weekend. The games were just tremendous. The NBA is just in a good place, man. It's in a real good place. So I'm going to talk about all the series and then leave the series that are being played today to be the last series that I talk about. So let's start off with the big one, Boston versus the Nets. You know, the Nets, they just messed up that game. They tricked off that game. They had that game won. You first of all, hats off to Kyrie Irving, the game that he played. There's been a lot of talk about like him versus the fans throwing up the middle finger. I ain't have no problem with it. I know that this is a product that goes out on national TV, so you can't do anything like that because of censorship reasons and stuff like that. But personally, I don't think like I'm outraged by it. I don't think it tells me anything by his character. You know, who knows what they're saying about him in that arena. You know, he's complained about, things crossing the line into racial areas and stuff like that before. So he's probably highly sensitive. And I thought it was cool that, he's going with this back and forth with the fans and he's actually producing. On the net side of things, the way that KD played has to concern you. They always talked about KD being the greatest scorer of all time and always had pushback on it because there is a way that you can guard him, and that is to be physical with him. Get in his jersey, rough him up. He's still one of the slider guys. If you remember the guys that he has struggled with in the past, Tony Allen, PJ Tucker, these are guys who were a lot smaller than him, but the way that they defended him was to grab on him, lean on him, hold on him, and that gets magnified in the playoffs. And the Celtics came out and they just roughed him up from play one, grabbed him, hold him. He didn't really get any clean shots at the rim. A lot of it was pull-up jumpers, fadeaway jumpers, mid-range jumpers, and that's just a hard way to make a living, whether you're KD or not. So he said that he's going to look at the film and make adjustments. I'm sure that Brooklyn's going to complain and send tapes to the league office to, get the officiating to, put a cap on that. They called a lot of fouls too, but I think this was like old school Utah Jazz. The way John Stockton used to play was like, I'm going to foul you on every play, and they're not going to call all of them. So they called a lot of fouls, but they could have called more fouls. So on the Boston side of things, Tatum had a really great game. I don't think anybody else really played particularly well for Boston. Jaylen Brown scored some baskets towards the end, and he was complaining about the officiating, what I thought was, completely ridiculous because once again, they physically assaulted KD. Some of the fouls, man, people would have went to jail in 21 states in this union. Some of the fouls I saw that they didn't call on KD. So for them on the flip side to start complaining about calls is ridiculous. But I think that they took advantage of the lack of size for Brooklyn. And, Steve Nash is going to be put to a test. I just think that, he hasn't really shown the ability to make adjustments. His adjustment generally is, let me play KD and Kyrie more minutes. In my personal opinion, I think this is a series where you have to play some size. I'm surprised Blake Griffin didn't get any run game one. I know that he's been struggling, but still he has some size. There's lineups that they're running out there where there has the center, either Claxton or Drummond. A lot of people complain about Drummond and Claxton. They were better in the Claxton minutes, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if that's a change that they make. But they have these lineups where it's Claxton, KD, and then everybody else on the court is under 6'5". And that's just not going to be sustainable, I believe. Claxton showed some ability to keep up with Tatum because Tatum isn't really the quickest of foot. He isn't the fastest driver, so that's not really that surprising. So I definitely think they need to play LaMarcus Aldridge more, especially with his ability to shoot. I wouldn't be surprised if they roll out lineups where it's Aldridge, KD, and Nick Claxton. But one of the biggest plays of the game after Boston went up 3 on the Kyrie shot. They got a quick layup because Jaylen Brown just attacked the rim and there wasn't anyone to really defend the rim, and he's just shooting over Bruce Brown. So I think that this is going to be a series where Brooklyn's going to have to make some adjustments. Um, the time between games really favors Brooklyn because depth is an issue, and they don't play again until Wednesday. And then after that, they don't play again until Saturday. And a lot of these series, and the next series I'm going to talk about, I think that's big as well, Minnesota versus Memphis. The time between games is just teams that have these, benches that are stocked and chock full of players. They're losing some of the advantage because of the time between games, because you can play your guy 45 minutes knowing we have 3 days off to the next game. And, they played Sunday at noon. They don't play again till Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's insane. That's over 72 hours of rest in between games. So I think that really favors Brooklyn. It looks like this is going to be a 7-game series, and Boston, the last game of the season, they were like, oh well, we're not losing, we're going to win, we're not scared of Brooklyn. And that first game, if not for that last play, that heroic, miraculous last play, and it looks like KD and Kyrie both fell asleep watching the ball and Tatum slip for the layup. If not for that, they would be down 1-0. I just think that it doesn't really make sense for Boston with the season that they had not to try to duck out of that Brooklyn fade. Just me personally, sometimes it's best to be strategic. Even the Bucks ducked the fade. It's best to be strategic. Like them versus Chicago, I think they sweep Chicago. I think the Bucks are going to sweep Chicago, and you're probably at best going to have a tough 6 or 7 game series versus this team where you win, and at worst they could beat you. I don't think anybody after watching that game would be shocked if Brooklyn won the series. So that's just some things that I saw in that game. The next game I want to talk about is Memphis, Minnesota. I predicted in the playoff preview that Minnesota was going to win this series, and nothing that I saw in that game, obviously that they won, but I didn't see it as a fluky win. Minnesota didn't particularly shoot that well. Memphis got, I think they had 14 or 15 more free throws than they did. Cat had some moments there, but this was the Ant Man coming out party. I just love him as a player, and I think that he could end up being like the best player in the league. Like that's his ceiling, his best player in the league. And his just calm and confidence versus the Clippers when Cat fouled out, he wasn't worried at all. And now versus Memphis, every time Memphis tried to make a run in that game, he made a big shot. I just think with his athleticism, his ability to defend multiple players, it's just Memphis, if it's not Ja, they have issues with guys really generating shots. Another problem for Memphis is Desmond Bane cannot guard Anthony Edwards. He just can't keep up with him speed-wise. He's undersized. So Dylan Brooks has to match up with him. So, maybe that gives D'Angelo Russell a chance to go off. D'Angelo Russell didn't really do anything that game. I think it was like 2 of 11. I think if you're Memphis, you're concerned. One of their advantages, once again, is the depth that they have and the time between games. Once again, they played on Saturday and early Saturday, same thing, 3 days of rest. They don't play again until Tuesday. And then after the game on Tuesday, it bounces back pretty quickly. But there's a big gap in games. 5 and 6 if it goes that far. So one of their biggest advantages, depth, doesn't really play into it. Another advantage is just the speed and the intensity that they play at. If you catch Minnesota on the wrong night, they don't understand, they make a lot of mistakes, they could lose a game. You just don't get that from Memphis. They play, they're energetic, they're locked in every game, but in the playoffs, everybody's locked in. So, Jaren Jackson got into foul trouble, but I was looking at Zach Lowe's breakdown of the series, and he said Jaren Jackson is one of the most foul-prone players in the league. So that's just what he does. Looks like Cat is going to have a big series. I wouldn't be surprised if they start sending hard doubles to him, or switch up the matchup. They want to. A lot of people said that they should take out Steven Adams and put in Wayne Tillman. Um, I think that they're going to be hesitant to do that because, one, it's like it's seen sometimes as a panic move. Let's remove our starting center, and he's so jovial. People like Steven Adams so much. He's such a big part of their identity. If you take him out of the rotation completely after one game, it almost looks like they're panicking. I'm surprised Wayne Tillman fell out of the rotation. I always liked him, but I think he's a good player. But once again, sometimes when you have depth, too much depth, you start to rack your mind over, should I play this guy or that guy? And the playoffs, the teams that are successful have 8 to 9 man rotations. They don't go these full platoons, and that's what Memphis has used to their advantage. And because the playoffs, it's not going to be that big of an advantage. So I'm interested to see what happens that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota won game 2. They've won game 1, so the natural tendency is to relax. But I just think that the way that Ant Man is built, he's the type of person that his personality just rubs off on the team. And he's so vocal, like he just says whatever he feels. So I remember there was a game that Minnesota lost, and he was telling Towns, like, fam, you need to be like Joel Embiid. Like, no one can stop you. So what is all this half-stepping that you do? And he said it to the media, and he said, I told him that. And like, he doesn't care. Like, it's not that I'm a rookie and this guy's a multiple time. I don't care. This is what I think. I don't think nobody can stop me. We the ones, Jack. Like, the level of, I don't think I've seen an NBA player who just does not give a fuck like he does. And it's not even like a negative fuck you type way. It was just like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to hoop. I think I'm good. And what y'all going to do about it? So I think that's going to be just a very entertaining series. But I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota wins again, and they take a 2-0 lead. Because there's a lot of pressure on Memphis. And because of the way that they play, just because of the way that they play, they don't shoot that many threes, so they don't have the high variance that other teams have, where it's just like, okay, we're going to come out, we're hot today. The home crowd is going to carry us. We're going to bomb you at the gym. They don't really play like that. So game 2 is going to be very interesting. What else do we have? Atlanta over Miami. I took Atlanta with the points as a bet. And I said that Atlanta had a chance in the series if Bam missed games. He obviously didn't miss games, and he looked great game 1. So I don't think Atlanta has a chance to win the series. I do think that they'll probably get a game. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 2 because of the way that they shoot. A lot has been made about the way that they defended Trae Young, but I think there was just a make-miss league, and they just missed a lot of 3-pointers. They missed just a ton of shots. If you look, so let me see. If you pull up the box score, let's pull up the box score of this game. So if you pull up the box score in this game, let's go here. Let's make that bigger. Box score. The Atlanta Hawks shot 10 of 36 from 3, 27%, 38% from the field. They shot 18 of 38 from 3. This is a team that makes and takes the second most amount of threes in the league. So I think it's just as simple as that. They didn't make shots. 0 of 7 for Trae Young from the 3-point line. They didn't make shots. And this is a team that usually makes shots. So I do think that just watching John Collins play, it's obvious that he's gutting it out, and he just allows him to have a different shot diet where you can get mid-range jumpers, where you can get someone, driving hard to the basket, where A lot of their 2-point shots are either Trae Young driving to the basket or them getting a alley oop off of a Trae Young play, and he's kind of gives them some different verve to their offense. And without having him, I just don't think that they're going to be competitive. So thought they had a chance if Bam didn't play and if John Collins came back healthy. I don't think either one of those things is going to happen here. So I think that's going to be a pretty open and shut case with that one. Chicago, Milwaukee. I told you if you listen to playoff preview to take Chicago game 1 plus 10 because Milwaukee generally always starts slow. This was not an exception to that rule. A lot of people were talking about my man Magic going on Stephen A show and saying, hey, man, we could have had DeMar DeRozan and LeBron didn't want to do that. He wanted Russell Westbrook and blah, blah, blah. And this season could have been different. But look at DeMar DeRozan, 6 of 25. 6 of 25. LeBron has seen a lot of these games up close and personal. So you have to look at it from his perspective. I'm here to win the finals. I'm here to make hay in the playoffs. This regular season stuff, that's nice. But I'm here to win the playoffs. The guy that you guys are telling me that we should, it wants to keep playing this nonsense music. So the guy that you guys are telling me that I should pick up is a guy that I've haunted my whole career. This is a guy that I've seen fold under pressure in the playoffs on multiple occasions. This is a guy when I played Toronto, when I was on Cleveland, they would bench him for stretches in clutch situations because he was just useless out there. So why would I want him over MVP and Russell Westbrook? I understand the logic, especially a guy in DeRozan who does not shoot threes. So he's not going to help with the spacing for LeBron. I get that thinking. Caruso was special in this game, though. Once again, Caruso was special in this game, and I'll talk about my Lakers when I do the season breakdowns for each team. But the Lakers were cutting coupons all season, and not bringing him back. He only had 7 points. The plus minus is -10, but if you watch the game, his impact on the game, especially defensively, was just tremendous. Going down to the Bucks side, Giannis had a good game. A lot of the others did not. Chris Middleton in particular struggled, and Caruso was matching up with him a lot. I do think that the way that the Bucks are going to have to win this series is the others are going to have to play well. I think Chicago found some rhythm and some juice in that game by going hard, trapping Giannis and making the others beat them. And we'll see if that's something that they can continue on. Didn't think it was a good game for Middleton or Crew Holiday. I think that they were actually lucky to escape because not only did DeRozan play poorly, Levine played poorly, 6 of 19, Vujicic played poorly. And, these were open shots that they just didn't make. A lot of them were good looks that they just didn't make. So we'll see what happens as the series progresses. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls got a game or two just because I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the others for the Bucks to make plays. Golden State, Denver. Let's see if there's any. Is there any other game? Phoenix, New Orleans. I think that's going to be a sweep. Just a clean sweep. I don't think there's really much to talk about there. They just match up really well defensively on the Pelicans more than anything. Offensively, they're going to get any shot that they want. With Vujicic in the back line, they just take advantage of him. Chris Paul versus Nance, just the defensive coverage. I'm thinking maybe they switch it and try to fight under screens and over screens so you don't have any mini switches, and Chris Paul and Devin Booker aren't taking advantage of their bigs. But, these guys are two of the best mid-range jump shooters in the league. So if you're in that 12 position, they're just going to walk into open jumpers, and they're comfortable taking those. So I think that this series is pretty much a wrap. Nothing really to talk about there. Just the defense they played was just hellacious. I think the Pelicans got back in, but I just think that's just the natural rhythm of a game that, a team relaxes, especially with the way they shoot threes in this league now. Teams can come back fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and talk about the games today. Golden State, Denver. It's funny. Jokic wins the MVP. He's going to win the MVP, it looks like. And the whole thing was like, okay, look at his stats and he's improved defensively. All you have to do is watch 5 minutes of this game to see he has not improved defensively, that he's still barbecue chicken on defense, that he puts no fear in anyone's heart driving and attacking the rim. None. No fear in anyone's heart. So it's just like this campaign that they're on to try to sell me that this guy is something that he isn't is just ridiculous. Yeah, I just think that series is going to be a wrap. Jordan Poole played well, and it's going to be interesting to see, what the Warriors do with this contract. Do they try to kick down the can a year and wait, or do they just give him extension now and try to appease the player and not, play Russian roulette? I think that they probably kick down the can, but that tax bill is just going to be ginormous. I think Golden State got particularly lucky with this Denver series. This is a series where Steph can ease himself back in. I didn't really watch too much of it. He looked like he was moving around fine, but it's hard to believe that after the first game back, he's at 100%. So if they could get a good sweep, a clean sweep, while Minnesota and Memphis are going blow for blow, that's going to be interesting. The Toronto Philadelphia series, injuries to Scotty Barnes, injuries to Thaddeus Young, injuries to Gary Trent Jr. I think this one's a wrap. I mean, it's just going to be hard for them to deal with Embiid. He doesn't turn the ball over as much. He stays patient. They only had 3 turnovers as a team. He didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but he's just being doubled on the catch on every play. And when you have a scenario like that and the others are hooping, then it doesn't really matter. Maxey has been a godsend for them. We talked about the James Harden trade, and he had another bad game, 6 for 17, but Maxey developing into a all-star level player really gives them an opportunity to contend, because Harden still is a special passer. There are going to be nights where he goes 7 of 11 for 3 or something like that. So do you have enough meat and potatoes from other players in the offense to kind of sustain you on the nights that he's not playing well? And I think Maxey definitely gives them that ability to do that. So yeah, Toronto's just in a tough space. You got those 3 injuries. You got Fred VanVleet coming off an injury. You got OG Anunoby, who has, I believe, a ring finger injury on his shooting hand. So they're just not right. And I just think that this series is probably going to be over sooner than later. And the last one, Dallas versus Utah, I think that one's a wrap as well. Luka's not playing game 2. Hey, maybe if he comes back game 3 in Utah and wins that game, then all the pressure on you is on Utah to win game 4. So there's a roadmap for them to come back, but I just doubt that he's going to be healthy enough to come back in time. With his weight, he struggled with weight issues with his size. A calf issue is just not something that you can baby and nurse. You do a lot of your pushing off on that. A lot has been mentioned that he's a big stop and start player, so that requires you to do a lot of pushing off on your calf, and I just don't think he's going to be ready in time. So I think that's an out for the Luka fans, because I'm on record saying that he's one of the more overrated players in our league. So I think they would have lost to Utah regardless. So now that they lose to them, they have an opportunity to say, hey, well, it was the injuries, we would have been back if not. So yeah, so I think that's the state of the series. Yeah, so again, Minnesota and Brooklyn. I think Boston and Minnesota versus Memphis. Those are the 2 marquee series. They have an NBA TV game, the Minnesota Memphis series tomorrow, while Atlanta is in Miami is the prime time early game on TNT, and that's just ridiculous. That is the best game by far that night. I'm going to be watching. I won't miss a minute of that series. So it's just the perfect time of the year with basketball. There's basketball on every night. So many teams are in, and it's just great. So I'm a pig and slop right now. All right, we'll go ahead and leave it here. The game is the game. All right, that's it for this clip. Subscribe, leave a comment, respond to all the comments. The game is the game.
So what's up, man? What's up with you otherwise, The game is a game. Always.